meeting of the Caldwell County Board of Education is called to order, a virtual meeting on May 18th, 2020. And we have a few items with. First item is the approval of the agenda, and the board has been sent that by Kathy and probably had a chance to review a fairly short agenda. Do I hear a motion we approve the agenda as presented?
Chairman Pennell, I move that we approve the board agenda as presented.
Okay, is there a second?
Second motion.
Okay, any comments or additions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? And motion passes. The agenda is approved. And our first item, as we move down the list, is Human Resources Assistant Superintendent Dr. Bill Griffin.
Good morning, guys. Chairman Pennell, Vice Chair Branch, members of the board, Dr. Phipps. I have before you today the proposed board transfers for 2020-21. As you see there in front of you, you see a total transfer request of 1,547 transfers. Transfers recommended board approval are 1,520. Transfers not recommending board approval are 27. Total board approval for 2019-2020 school year 1,520. Transfers revoked would be 0, and then total transfers revoked. At this time, I respectfully request a motion to approve the 2020-2021 transfers as presented.
Okay, do I hear a motion that we approve the 2020-2021 transfers as presented by Dr. Griffin? Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion to approve.
Okay, motion from Dwayne. Second from, do I have a second?
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Chris, thank you. Any comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Is there any opposed? I do not hear any, so that motion to approve the transfers is approved. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Don Phipps.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 4A is an administrative recommendation, and I'm proud and excited to offer to you all the name of Philip Little, currently the principal at Avery County High School, to be our new principal at South Caldwell High School. We went through an application process with folks applying. We had 3 staff members along with 4 members from the Ed Center that were involved in selecting the candidates to interview, selecting questions, and then going through the interview process. And we are very excited to present Mr. Little's name as a recommended individual to replace Rob Bliss as principal at South Caldwell High School effective July 1st.
That would be for how many year term?
We start administrators normally with a 2-year contract, and then a renewal will be a 4-year contract.
So we're on a 2-year.
Yes.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. 2 or 4?
This is a 2-year contract today, an administrative contract for a principal position.
Chairman Pennell, I'm
Breaking up, I can't hear.
Daryl, this is a 2-year administrative contract, and it'll be a 4-year contract upon renewal.
So we're voting on 4-year contract?
This would be for a 2-year administrative contract, 2 years.
I'm just catching about one of every 5 or 6 words.
Chairman Pennell, I'd like to move that we approve the 2-year contract for South Caldwell Principal Philip Little.
I second that.
And got a second? Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And the motion passes. So we'll welcome Philip Little, South Caldwell here soon. Dr. Phipps?
Daryl, we're getting a message on my screen that says your bandwidth is low, so I know it's going to be fading in and out. I'm just going to keep going with what I have. Item 4B is information on graduation. I don't have any.
Let's see.
I don't have anything for action item to share with you.
Dr. Phipps may, if he mutes his video, and that way he just has voice, and maybe that'll help this low bandwidth. He'll close his video.
Daryl, I have muted your video. I'm hoping you'll be able to hear me at least now.
I can hear you good.
Okay. I'm going to go through the graduation, just an update of kind of where we're at. We haven't made any decisions, and I'd like to get some feedback from the board. And Daryl, I'll turn video on after I talk, so you'll be able to see everything. Right now, we're trying to make some determinations on time and format. And I know you all have heard a lot across the state and across the country of what different entities are doing. And we've had the conversations here. We've had a couple of meetings with our high school principals. We've had 2 meetings with all with a group of seniors, 5 students basically from each school that were representing our seniors. We've had surveys done from all of our seniors. I've had the opportunity to have some phone conversations with parents. And this is one of those situations where there's no way to make a situation or a decision that's going to satisfy everyone. So we're trying to determine what the best course of action is. And I wanted to ask how the board feels about there being consistency in services among all of our schools. If you feel like they need to be consistent, do you prefer for us to have our seniors weigh in and let us know what the seniors want their graduation to look like, and then try to cater to those needs? And I'll tell you, there are a couple things that we're looking at. We're looking at an Air Force Academy style graduation for some of our schools. And that would be where students come in with masks, and if they have to wear gloves. They would proceed in with a social distancing requirement. They'd be allowed to sit on the field. This would be an outside ceremony. So they would be spaced apart on the field. They'd be allowed to have probably 2 guests come with them to sit in the football stadium. We would to have that closed circuit. Somehow we have the video where folks would be able to see it if they could be at the ceremony, and then we would go through what would be a traditional ceremony with those types of limitations. The problem for that right now is that we're not allowed to have a gathering outside like churches can, because there's a special worship provision in the governor's executive order. We're hoping that come Friday this week, we'll have some more guidance and we'll be able to start planning outdoor meetings, but there's no guarantee that will happen. We've also had some conversation about smaller situations where students come as individuals, and they come for a 10 or 15-minute window. They come into an area that's decorated just like graduation would be. They're able to bring family and guests with them. They come through and they receive the diploma. They're able to take pictures, and then they're able to walk the halls and do those kinds of things one last time. We've also heard about drive-by graduations. We've heard about meeting in the parking lot, and we've also, considered traditional ceremonies. But our concern right now, a traditional graduation ceremony held inside of an auditorium, we're just not allowed to have large gatherings. And the problem is we don't know how long we're going to be living under the restrictions that we have. And so there's no way to tell a community, a family, a graduate that we're planning on graduations in August. The Early College and the Applied Sciences Academy are doing their more traditional formal ceremonies. And right now they tentatively have those dates around the community college's graduation. So for them, it will be the 6th and 7th of August. We don't know yet if we'll be able to do that. I know the Applied Sciences Academy is doing some individual activities in addition to that to start this week. So I wanted to get some feedback from board members, and I also have high school principals here, and they certainly can speak on the matter better than I can in terms of what preparations involved, what kind of planning goes into it. We can do the shorter drive-by type of a ceremony and get that done in June because of the restrictions. We wouldn't be dealing with restrictions because of the nature of the activity that we'd be working with. Our high school seniors have just not warmed up to that idea. And the way that I look at it, and I don't want to speak for the board or for the principals, but this is a service for seniors. And I think we've asked seniors how they feel about it, and we want to try to build a ceremony and a format around what our seniors want. But with that being said, I also know this is a very special time for family and friends, and it's difficult to have a ceremony where you can't have the entire family attend. And right now, the way things stand today on Monday, we're not allowed to have those kinds of large gatherings. Again, that may change as late as Friday, so I'm hoping to wait until Friday before we try to nail anything down after we get the governor's recommendation. But I just wanted to throw it out and see how board members felt, Mr. Chairman, if any principals want to weigh in, however you want to handle the discussion. I'm not looking for action. I just wanted to give you an update on what we're planning. And just so you know, I mentioned the Early College and Applied Sciences Academy. Right now, South Caldwell and High Brighton would prefer to do a Air Force Academy style where the students march in and they have limited number of guests outside. West Caldwell would prefer to do the type of ceremony where students come in and it's one student at a time with their family, and they get about 10 minutes and they go through the process, and then you have another student come in, and you do that throughout the day over the course of several different days. With those ideas out, just want to see what you all think.
Dr. Phipps, on the Air Force Academy style, are we talking about in August or what? I missed the date that you're looking at.
Well, we would like to do that in June, but we're limited right now on the number of gatherings that we can have publicly. We don't know yet. Really, it's going to depend on what the governor tells us we can do with regard to outdoor gatherings.
Okay, so if they approved where it could be done in June, we would go ahead and do it close to the traditional graduation date.
We'd like to do, and we're planning, that's a great question. We've talked about planning to do these on separate days, and the reason for that, you don't know what weather's going to do. We would have a morning time and an afternoon or evening makeup time if we needed to. So we would probably do one on a Thursday, one on a Friday, one on a Friday, one on a Saturday. We'd have to go back and look at which of those dates were, but they would be very close to what we had scheduled as graduation dates if we did the Air Force Academy style. And if given the permission to do that.
Dr. Phipps. Dr. Phipps, may I ask a question?
Certainly.
If in this planning, as we look at what the schools have said they wanted, would we still be allowed to have West to do the kind of graduation they have required and let the Air Force Style Academy apply to the other two high schools that are traditional high schools, and to let the Early College and the CASA do their graduations with the community college? So we're saying that we're letting the people do what works for their school.
That would work. The only caveat to that would be we don't know about the High Brighton and the South Caldwell type of ceremony until from the governor, but the West Caldwell style that they're discussing could go ahead and happen, and we would do that in that first week in June and allow them to go ahead and wrap things up before our calendar ends for the school year. But in those situations, you would have schools doing different types of formats, and there are going to be folks in the community that are going to want to have a formal ceremony. There are others who prefer to go ahead and have it and be done with it. My fear is the further we push it out, the less meaning that it has, and it potentially could be pushed out as far as December. We just don't know if we're going to have a gathering where you have 1,000 to 1,500 people in a building, when we're going to be allowed to do that. The other fear that I have are that students that go into the military won't be able to participate, students that move off to go to school or other things who can't get back to Caldwell County for a weekend ceremony. I don't know if they'll be able to participate. With that being said, if we go ahead and do something that's quicker, then it's a different format. And at least from the students that we've talked to, and the principals can talk, they've surveyed and got a good read on how their seniors feel. I'm trying to be fair and equitable to all parties involved. And it's a difficult decision because, you know, whichever decision you land on, there are going to be some folks that wish you had done something completely different. And right now, we're trying to do all we can, working within the limitations of what we have through the governor's office.
Craig, can you voice why y'all are wanting to do it that way at West Caldwell?
Can you guys hear me now?
I can, yes, sir.
Okay, and I'm not Jeffrey Pitts, I'm not sure. In surveying our students, so we had 105 students respond. So, I mean, that wasn't a great percentage of number of respond, but those students that responded have stated that they do not want to limit or be restricted with only 2 tickets. Many of our students, this will be a first generation graduate from our split families, extended families. Our students simply felt it was more important for them to have family members there as opposed to seeing classmates. So again, that was the big reason, is one, they wanted closure as we're kind of talking about. But again, we have so many grandparents that are potentially coming in and flying in that want to be a part and be able to see. So that was the biggest takeaway I got from the students that I talked to, is they would rather have more family members, and you know, they realize it's a tough situation, but they'd rather have family watching them than classmates.
So if that happened, if that was the way it was proceeded, and the student comes in, you said, I think they said 10 to 15 minutes. Is there a way, and I fully support what you're doing, first off, let me say that. And I appreciate all of you, but is there a way to monitor, like, those kids once they leave the building? Are they our responsibility? Should they start trying to gather outside?
Well, that was, you know, that's the other takeaway. I've talked to many surrounding counties, and one was Burke County that just got their plan approved. So, you know, if we were able to proceed with this type of format, I would want guidance from, you know, our health officials and emergency management. But from what Burke County had proposed, you know, kind of like anything else, even if you did Air Force graduation, regardless of what type, who is indeed monitoring out in the student parking lots with gatherings. So at least from what I had heard from the other county is, I mean, it's going to sound bad, but I mean, what happens outside the building, we can try to socially distance and put the tape marks. And again, in our proposed plan, it's through the course of 3 days, with letters of the alphabet, and we rotate them through stations. So, like anything else, you know, we can have a plan, but that's still what scares me is what happens if they all congregate in the parking lot, which is going to be a problem regardless of any plan that's proposed, whether it's Air Force style. So I really can't answer that. I mean, again, that's where if we were able to proceed with our tentative plan, I would want to sit down, because in Burke County, they were told that, you know, they could bring 9 guests. And so really at the venue itself, meaning the graduation stage, they would actually have 12. I don't know who or how they got those numbers, but everyone was told they needed to wear masks. So again, I would want further guidance if we were able to proceed with the proposed plan.
Well, you're correct. It doesn't matter which gathering it is. They can meet in the parking lot, and I don't know how you would monitor it. But thank you. I just wanted to know why y'all were looking at one plan versus the other plan. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Let me carry that out a little bit more too. The West Caldwell model and the way that they're talking about that, you would have fewer students gathered on the campus at one time because they're coming at designated appointment times. They would walk through have their ceremony that will be an individual ceremony, and then they're going to be given the opportunity to be escorted around the school so they could walk around the school and campus one more time, and then they would leave. And while that's going on, the next student would come in. So you're not going to have a large number of people on campus gathering at one time. They're going to be coming and going throughout the day. Just kind of food for thought.
All right, thank you.
We've also thought about, and we've heard about the drive-bys, and we've heard about students that are parked with family members in cars in parking lots, and we have a stage set up, and then we call students' names, and either they drive by and pick up their diploma, or they come out of their car and walk up and get the diploma with family in the car with them. That too is limiting. You're limiting to the number of people that you can have in a car, but that's certainly an option that could be looked at. But our students, as we talked to them, felt like that was somewhat sterile, but it didn't allow them to interact. It didn't allow them to be with their peers. So there are pros and cons, I think, on every one of the scenarios. And, I'm willing to wait and see if we can get something in, even if we have to go into August for the schools that want to do that. We just don't know what kind of limitations we're going to have on us when we get to any point in time looking down the road into August or July or even September, October. But what I wanted to find out from the board, do you have a preferred method that we follow, or are you okay with individual schools choosing their own ways of doing what they want to do?
For me personally, I'm fine with the schools making their decisions, and because it is about the students, and if they've done surveys and the majority of their students, as at West, wanted to do it one way, at South maybe one way, High Brighton one way, I'm okay with any one of them.
I agree with that. The way things have been with the way school ended, into February, 1st of March, and just how uncertain things have been, these crazy times that we're living in, I am perfectly okay with if South Caldwell, the majority of the students there want to do it one way, and the majority of the students at West want to do it a different way. I think that we should cater to those desires of those students and do what we can to make that happen.
Dr. Phipps.
I would agree with that.
Dr. Phipps.
Go ahead, Ann.
I am also in support of the schools being able to do what they feel they need to do for their students, because I know they have put a tremendous amount of time into looking at various options and surveying their parents and students. And so I am supportive of that, and certainly wish all of these students to have the opportunities that they want at this time.
I do agree with the local decision making, understanding that the early college and Applied Science Academy do need to coordinate with the community college, and I'm glad that y'all are able to do that. And thank you to everyone for reaching out to students as we make that decision.
Okay, again, this is not an action item. I think we've heard how the board feels, and I'll be meeting with principals. We'll get that done early this week. Probably wait until Friday when we get updated guidance from the governor to know what we're going to do moving forward, and then we'll let you all know that. Mr. Chairman, okay for us to move to the next item?
Sure, go ahead. I think most everybody's in agreement with letting the schools choose, but go ahead.
Item 4C is information on the 2020-2021 traditional school calendar. One of the changes that's come out of the General Assembly does in fact deal with school calendar. You've received a draft of this. We continue to work on it. We want you to see what it looks like. The requirement in the law now says that schools have to start on August the 17th. We had already planned on starting August 17th, so that doesn't change our start date. However, we're required to do a few things that weren't in the original calendar law. We're required to add 5 remote learning days. These can be days where teachers can take accumulated leave. They are essentially teacher work days. I'm concerned about that being called a remote learning day, because in Caldwell County, as we've done remote learning over this time period with COVID, our teachers have been actively involved, and it's not been a time where they've just given information out and students have done it on their own. So I don't want to have the meeting in the public be the remote learning days or just teacher work days, but that's what the law says. And I just dispute the language that's being used because it's not reflective of what's being done in our school system or around the state. In addition to the 5 remote learning days, we had to add in additional 5 student days. So our calendar has to change in terms of our ending date as we put those in. We were originally going to start on the 17th of August and end on the Friday before Memorial Day. The calendar now will have to extend into that first week in June. And we're working on those exact dates and where they're going to break. You'll have a chance to see those remote learning days that are added to the calendar. The one thing this does allow us, it gives us a day, other than the month of September, it gives us a work day or remote learning day in every month, which is something that we've tried to put in the calendar, but had some difficulty doing. It also reduces the number of teacher work days at the beginning and the end of the year on the calendar, which is something that all of our teachers have requested as well. So I'd like to ask you to look over that calendar. And if you have any thoughts or questions, let me know that before we meet on our next meeting when we're going to formalize the calendar. We don't have to do that immediately. That would probably come in our June meeting, but I wanted you to at least be aware of it and understand why it's changed. And what you see here is reflective of the requirements in the calendar law. We still have to get to 1,025 instructional hours as a minimum, but the number of student days is increased to 190. And that's not an and, but an or. And because we do 1,025 hours, we don't have to hit the 190 student days. We're well over 1,025 instructional hours. So as far as the basic requirements of the calendar, they're all met based on what we presented to you. And I just want you to be aware of that. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right. Anyone have anything else? If not, I assume our next meeting will be our June board meeting.
Chairman Pennell, Dr. Phipps.
Yes.
I was wondering if after the board meeting, if board members would indulge me to thank them. I may not get a chance to do this again. It will be emotional, but I would appreciate the opportunity if that's appropriate.
Sure.
I think the reality is setting in now with seeing all of you. And I was telling somebody recently that I interviewed for principalships 8 times in my career. And only one time I got a job. And it was West Caldwell. And every other time I've ever gotten an administrative position has been an appointment. So I must be a really bad interviewer. But I wanted to thank all of you because those appointments had to be approved by the school board. And your confidence in me, your faith in me, without the benefit of an interview, is something that I will never forget. I could tell a story about every single one of you because I've gotten to know every single one of you. But I think this is the first time it has really set in that at the end of a 40-year career, my last 12 years have been so near and dear to me because they've been with people who are my friends or my colleagues or my mentors. And a couple of stories. We got the highest test scores at West Caldwell many years ago, and I remember there was a principal that I really looked up to by the name of Teresa Branch, and she was the principal at the early college, and of course we all looked up to the early college. And at a community board meeting that night, Teresa in many ways validated the academic progress that we had made at West Caldwell High School. And Teresa, I will never forget that before you even talked about the early college, you talked a little bit about the successes that we had at West Caldwell, and that kind of fueled everything in me about being an instructional leader that maybe I wasn't quite as bad at as I thought I was. Chris Bumgarner, I wish I had a word of the day for you. We used to get a word of the day or a word of the week every week in our admin meetings, and you know, Chris, you kind of changed the way school resource officers are viewed not just at High Brighton, but across the county. And you made it about relationships, and I think that that's a standard that all of us have. Daryl Pennell, we have our house because of you. You took my wife on a tour of houses in Caldwell County, and then when our closing got delayed because of the VA loan, you would come by and collect rent from me every week to make sure that Sherry and I had our dream home. Dwayne Knight, you asked me the greatest question I'll ever be asked in a school board meeting just before you voted on me to come to High Brighton, and it showed that you truly cared about High Brighton and the community in Caldwell County Schools, and we've become very close friends ever since then. Joe, I remember right after you got elected, there was a perception that all you really cared about was the south end of the county. And the very first comeback back to school that we had at High Brighton, Joe Sims was there. And Joe came back for retirements of teachers at High Brighton. Joe continues to be visible in our end of the county. And Joe, that's obvious that the people of High Brighton realize that you truly do represent the entire county. And we greatly appreciate it. And I guess with your daughter there, I can thank you for raising an incredible daughter who did an incredible job at High Brighton High School. And you and I continue to have conversations about relationships and students in general and the importance of maintaining those relationships. And Meredith, I couldn't be prouder. I just couldn't be prouder. Jeff, I think, Jeff, anytime High Brighton or any school has ever needed you to come to the school, we've had maintenance requests, you have thousands. You've done it with a demeanor that is so calm that anytime I ever got in a situation at this school where I showed the other side of me, I expected Jeff Church to turn up, and Jeff Church was here. And in about 10 minutes, Jeff Church would kind of talk me off the ledge and allow me to continue to do what I needed to do. Katrina, we've been together since West Caldwell High School. And the hundreds of times that you've helped me understand curriculum, test scores, things that, quite frankly, I've never been really good at, you were able to cover for me. Craig, you're a godsend to West Caldwell High School. I cannot imagine any other person in this district being at West Caldwell High School other than Craig Siren. You're what's right for West Caldwell at this moment. Andy, you and I have been friends ever since going back to Mike Peak, and we had a great mentor at South, and we've had common experiences throughout our relationships. But I want to thank you, Andy, for reaching out to Matthew Teague when Matthew became paralyzed, and you talked a little bit about the Share Center, and you reached out so that his parents would understand that what his journey at the Share Center would be just that, a journey, and that the destination would be to come back and get his high school diploma. And I think everybody there appreciated that. And Rob, Caldwell County owes you a debt of gratitude to have come in the situation that you did and to have righted the ship the way that you have. I consider you one of my greatest friends and a mentor. And I want to come and watch you coach next year because I know it's the love of your life. But you righted the ship. And Dr. Phipps, your vision for this county is mind-blowing. You and I had a couple of trips to Raleigh, back and forth. And you shared your vision in a way that I wish I could be a part of it directly. You literally talked me through wearing the glasses in my VR experience. And you're a teacher. And that was the first time I ever saw Dr. Phipps teach a principal how to do something that, quite frankly, I was terrified of. But I think in the end, I want to thank Caldwell County. All of you have taken a chance on me. I'm not a good interviewer, but somehow you saw something in me that, quite frankly, I never saw in myself. I've got a few weeks left. Thank you for your support of High Brighton and for High Brighton students and for Caldwell County all the way across. And I would also like to congratulate Courtney. She's not here, but when I got here 8 years ago, Courtney and Meredith and I and Larry Hout came together, and we've all kind of gone our separate ways, and yet we've all stayed together. I've not spoken way too long. I appreciate your letting me get through this, but It has been an honor and a privilege to work with every single one of you. And Bill, you were my first. You were my very first assistant principal at West Caldwell High School. I remember Dr. Stone coming to me and asking me, would he be a great principal? I said, absolutely. I'm proud of you, Bill. You've come a long way, and I'm glad I was able to be a very small part of your journey. But I love all of you. I've still got a few more weeks to go, and thank you so much for allowing me the time.
Well,
David, you have obviously been a big asset to each of the 3 high schools in this county. You turned around at West Caldwell. You had such an impact at South Caldwell. I was so impressed with the at-risk program that you had implemented down there. And then just what you've done at High Brighton has been phenomenal. So we're going to miss you tremendously. You have been a mentor to, I mean, we've got a couple of excellent principals out there now that are in the position they're in because of you. So you have been a great mentor to each of them. And we are blessed that you have been in Caldwell County for these years. You have done a tremendous job. Any other comments?
I'm just gonna say we're real miss you, David.
Thank you, Dwayne.
Big shoes to fill.
And I'm just going to thank you, David. Some of you don't know, David and I have been in conversation since my first year at Maiden, and we moved through a lot of processes together over the phone. And also want to thank the board and Dr. Phipps and Dr. Griffin and Dr. Church for the opportunities they've given me here. It's been great. It's been, I'm not just saying this because we're on this chat together, but it's been the best district level administration that I've ever worked with. And so I just want to say thank you to you all for my experience here.
And Mr. Caldwell, I want to thank you for all of the guidance over the years that you've given me. I feel that a big part of my leadership journey began working with you at High Brighton High School. And I want to say too that every single resource officer that you've worked with at High Brighton has left High Brighton because of a promotion. And I have to say that I really believe it's in large part to just that leadership growth that comes from working with somebody like you. And yes, I did. My plan today was to ask you for a word of the day. There's a story behind that. Every admin meeting, he has a really expanded vocabulary far beyond anything that I've got. And he would use words that I would have to write down and look up the definitions to. So that was always the running joke. He would have to provide me with a word of the day. But I wish you the best. I love you and thank you.
David, am I allowed, can you hear me now? Mr. Caldwell?
Yes. Yes, Ann.
I just want to say to you how much joy it has brought to me to watch you as an administrator. I love going up those halls and seeing you stand there and interact with students. I've enjoyed standing with you as these graduates have gone by and seeing the joy that you feel as those students went by in the car and you knew every name and wished every student well. On a personal side, you've done so much for so many young administrators who value you and who have learned from you. And I'm just going to end by saying you're a truly good man. You have done so much for so many students, and you are very, very, very appreciated. And I look forward to the future and what you will continue to do with your life.
Thank you, Ann.
Mr. Chairman, if I could just say for the public, Mr. Caldwell was featured on an EdNC interview a couple of weeks ago. It was actually during Teacher Appreciation Week. And the fact is, they only selected 5 across the entire state of North Carolina, and David Caldwell was one of those individuals. And if you'd like to see it, if you go to the EdNC website, you can see an interview where he has a great opportunity to capture early moments in his career and where he's at now. And I think what you see out of that is that David is a teacher's teacher, and he's been a leader who's been a teacher, and that's probably as good as they come. But we're so proud of him. We're thankful for Rob, and I know this is a little unusual way of ending a meeting, but I think it's a very good way to do it in light of everything that's going on.
David, I'd like to tell you thank you for your leadership and for setting Highbrighton up not only for the success it's had, but for future successes. And I really appreciate that. Rob, thank you for coming in under difficult circumstances and timing and making such an impact at South Caldwell. I've heard nothing but positive stuff, and I wish both of you well in the future, whatever your endeavor is. Thank you.
David, thank you for the kind words that you shared today, and thank you for the difference you made for Caldwell County Schools. You are truly appreciated. And Rob, thank you also for stepping up at South Caldwell. You are appreciated.
And I just want to say, yeah, I just want to say that I told Rob the other day that I was really sad that he was leaving. Rob, it has been a pleasure to get to know you, and I have enjoyed the short time that we have had, and I do wish you the very best. And of course, Mr. Caldwell, there's way too much for me to say thank you right now, but much like his story, you know, I do want to say thanks for believing in me, because I think when I went for an interview, I really had one main interview question, and I really think I didn't get it right. So, but he let me come to Highbrighton anyway, and that really meant a lot. And we worked hard, but it was probably the most fun years that I've had in education. We really did have fun while I was there, and we used to give Mr. Caldwell a hard time because he's one of the only people I know that had spirit wear from all 3 high schools, South and West and Highbrighton. And so, Mr. Caldwell, I'm sending you an early college shirt now, because you're going to have to sport that proudly now too. And maybe Andy can get you an applied sciences shirt, and we'll have them all covered.
Thank you, Meredith.
Yeah, David, I'd just like to add as well, certainly appreciate your guidance and helping me as I began my leadership career. One of the things that I certainly can attribute to you is you had a long conversation with me about actually had the opportunity to move into the lead AP position, and that was over curriculum at the time. And that was a gap in my career that I knew that I had to have in order to advance at any level. You taught me that the most important thing in the school is data curriculum, and understanding the data and being able to read those pieces and understand what they really mean. I appreciate you gambling on me and trusting in me to do a job, and I think it's certainly been impactful on my life and my career. So I certainly owe you a lot of gratitude, and I'm very thankful for a lot of things that you taught me over the years. Thank you so much. And Rob, we're certainly going to miss you and what you've done for us at South Caldwell High School. And I say this with a lot of confidence. I believe that all of our secondary principals and the team that we have sitting right now get along. You all work well together and complement each other, and we're going to miss both of you and David, your leadership at those meetings. Thank you both.
Rob, let me just make one other comment. We're truly going to miss you. You and I go way back. You were one of my student teachers at West Caldwell years ago, and I could see there were great things ahead for you. And through the years, have followed your career as a coach and as a administrator. And you have done a fantastic job wherever you have been. We thank you for coming to Caldwell County and being a part of us down in South Caldwell. You've done a fantastic job down there, and we certainly hate to lose you, but we will be following your career at Bandy's. We know how much you truly enjoy coaching basketball, and obviously you do a great job with it. So, two great people, Rob and David Caldwell, and I truly appreciate knowing each of you and the great job that each of you have done through the years. Any other comments? Dr. Phipps, you have anything else to add?
No, sir, I'm good, thank you.
Do I hear a motion that we adjourn?
Chairman Hill, I'll make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second motion.
In favor, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much. Everybody, take your umbrella with you this week. Kind of like it's going to be a rainy week. But y'all have a good day.